Nope, you're not dreaming. It is possible to put together the pieces of FNAF. It's just a nightmare trying to do it. Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where it's another day, another FNAF timeline. Don't worry though, I promise this will be my final stab at putting it all together, at least until FNAF World. Maybe that means I can finally do Undertale. You guys want that one, right? Seems like a popular choice. Let me know in the comments. Now let me start this episode by making it very clear. I think the Dream Theory is indeed what Scott intended, where the minigames featuring the crying child from FNAF 4 are real, i.e. there's really a birthday party and he really gets bitten, and the events of each night at Freddy's across the 4 games, where a security guard is attacked by robots, is taking place in his mind. Like I said last episode, the clock sounds coupled with Scott's own statements both during the live stream and on Steam sold me 100% on that theory. That said, I, like a lot of you, aren't 100% satisfied with that explanation. Sure, the core gameplay sequences with you as the security guard might all be in the mind of a child, but the underlying story here about a serial killer stalking the halls of the restaurant are just too detailed and too well fleshed out to just be a wash. Here, to me, are the big issues that the Dream Theory doesn't address. 1. The crying child is afraid of those yellow suits for a reason. Remember what you saw. You know what will happen if he catches you. These are lines that his imaginary friend Fredbear repeats over and over. It feels a lot more sinister and real than just, oh, this kid saw something scary and misunderstood it in the shadows. 2. The puppet doesn't have a good explanation under Dream Theory. Clearly, the puppet is one of the most important forces in this game, but he doesn't fit into the dream model cleanly. A lot of other theorists have said it's symbolic of the boy's actions in his own dreams, but later this episode I'll prove that that's not true. If anything, the boy would be the security guard in these dreams, helpless and scared, not the puppet. I'm not buying it. 3. Scott confirmed the bulk of my FNAF 2 theory. This would be a strange move for him to go out of his way to say that a chain of events was correct if it was truly meaningless. And finally, number 4. The Atari minigames. Under Dream Theory, what? They're just dreams within dreams? What is this, Five Nights at Inception? And then there are plenty of little issues too, like a young child's dreams being so detailed as to include concepts that even most adults don't know, like sister locations and accurate minimum wage rates. So I combed over everything from the past year of theorizing to come up with the most well-supported, interesting, but also logical timeline of events telling the story of the rise and fall of Freddy Fazbear's. Admittedly, there are still gaps and logical leaps, which I'll be sure to call out, but right or wrong, this is the flow of events I believe creates the most satisfying narrative to the series. So this one is dedicated to all you guys on Reddit, YouTube, Twitter, and in the comments who have been sending me theories for months. Think of this as my end of the year present for you. Right or wrong, this box is getting opened. The story begins at Fredbear Family Diner, the first location as revealed to us by Phone Guy in FNAF 2, and confirmed indirectly by Scott when he approved my FNAF 2 theory. I don't honestly think that there's much to debate here anymore. A child is murdered outside the establishment by a mysterious figure, the Purple Guy, who escapes unnoticed. The victim's restless soul goes on to inhabit a puppet, which would then haunt the halls of the pizzeria. Boom! Done. No need to dwell on that. In the wake of the tragedy, the owners sell the name of Fredbear and the character's likeness to a larger company that will soon be known as Fazbear Entertainment. From there, the timeline picks up in 1983, as seen on the crying child's television set. Since buying the franchise, Fazbear Entertainment has distanced themselves from the last restaurant by redesigning Fredbear into a golden singer with a yellow rabbit partner. They've also rolled out a popular TV series, Fredbear and Friends, as well as a line of merchandise that includes both plastic toys and plushies of all the characters. But perhaps the biggest addition has been a sister location of restaurants where Fredbear's friends are headlining. Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie, known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. And that is our first major revelation, that FNAF 4's Fredbear-themed restaurant and FNAF 1's Freddy Fazbear's Pizza location are open at the same time. We know this thanks to the Phone Guy tapes uncovered in FNAF 3. For those of you who haven't listened to those enough times to have them memorized, I am so jealous of your life. But Secondly, let me refresh your memories. The tapes welcome you to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and then mention a tragic incident at a sister location which results in the yellow Springlock suits being decommissioned. So let me translate that for you. For all of us unfamiliar with corporate buzzwords, a sister location is defined as another company owned by the same parent company. For example, KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell are all sister companies, with the parent company that holds them all together being Yum Brands. Yum is right. Ugh, I could totally go for some Pizza Hut right now. Pizza Hut lunch buffet, you are the best! Hashtag not sponsored. In this case, FNAF 4's Fredbear's is the sister location to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, with the parent company being Fazbear Entertainment. Corporate structure for the win! What all of this means is that the unfortunate incident that Phone Guy mentions in the FNAF 3 tapes is the crying child getting chomped, which in turn is the inciting event that causes the two recently delivered yellow suits to the FNAF 1 location, the Golden Freddy and Golden Bonnie suit Phone Guy talks about, to be stored away in the location's safe room. At this point in the timeline, still open and hidden in the back of the restaurant. Enter Purple Guy. Shortly after the yellow suits get decommissioned, more FNAF 3 tapes reveal Phone Guy warning employees to not bring customers back to the safe room and to stop moving the yellow Bonnie suit. In the following days, the safe room gets sealed with the request to, quote, not tell family, friends, or insurance representatives. Now, Phone Guy may be unaware of what's happening here, but we're not. This is June 26th, 1983, the date of the missing children incident we learn about through the newspaper clippings pasted on the walls of FNAF 1, where, in the middle of the day, an employee dresses in a costume, lures 5 children to the back, kills them, and then stuffs their bodies into the suits. Although he's caught and taken into custody, the fact that all of this takes place in the restaurant's safe room, which remember are invisible to animatronics and security cameras, means that the actual murders aren't on camera. As such, the bodies of the children remain missing, hidden in the suits, and the killer can't be charged due to a lack of evidence. This is all represented in the game by the Foxy Go 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 minigame, where the layout of the game parallels the layout of the FNAF 1 location. Pirate Cove, to the right, a dining area. And as we see in the Give Gifts, Give Life minigame from FNAF 2, the puppet saves the kids by giving them life inside the animatronic suits. So now at this point in the timeline, we have Freddy, Foxy, Chica, Bonnie, Golden Freddy, and the puppet alive and well. Well, not alive, dead, and then reborn. You get the idea. Also, the company closes up the safe rooms to avoid all liability for the murders, and eventually the pizzeria is closed and the old animatronics retired due to the health conditions of the restaurant. As we see once again in the newspaper clippings from FNAF 1, the smell of rotting bodies inside the machines starts stinking up the place. So now let's pause there for a second. Up to now, everything has been pretty well substantiated with evidence, but before we get too much further, let's take a minute back with the crying child. Remember, one of my biggest concerns about Dream Theory is that the crying child is scared of the yellow suits, but there's no real good explanation as to why. So what if the reason the crying child is scared of the yellow suits is because he saw the missing children's incident? What if he saw the employee dressed up as a yellow animatronic luring the children away? Yes, this would mean that the missing children's incident would happen before the yellow suits are retired and before the kid gets bitten, but it's a theory that works for a lot of different reasons. First, he's always at the pizzerias, especially towards the end of the day, so he'd definitely be in a position to see something like this. Second, it explains his irrational fear of the yellow suits because he saw people get taken to the back and never return. Third, the lines of "remember what you saw" and "you know what will happen if he catches you" that psychic friend Fredbear keeps repeating makes a whole lot more sense now. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, look at this line. "These are my friends." If this were indeed true, this line takes on a whole new meaning. I always thought that line was weird. Like, what, they're your imaginary friends? I suppose, but then why would his collection of plushies just be with him when he dies? Why is that such an important detail that Scott chose to include? It wouldn't be, really, but what if they were literally his friends? That he knew the kids who went missing and got stuffed, and the plushies being there in the final scene represented not his plushies, but the spirit of his friends, the ones possessing the suits, being there with him as he dies. Now that gives you a reason to be scared of this restaurant. But we can take it one step further. There's one more issue with the crying child we've yet to cover. What happens to him when he dies at the end of FNAF 4? My original theory put him in the puppet because of design details, but in retrospect, that was wrong. Reddit user 3IEYIJ, 3I... Reddit user 3iege did an analysis of the color of the text during the ending sequence. All of the final lines aren't in the yellow used for psychic friend Fredbear, but rather a mysterious new off-white color for the final lines of "You're broken, I will put you back together." It's a subtle detail, but it's very clear that this is an intentional difference that Scott included in the games. So who's speaking? Well, who else but the one figure we know gives life to children dying in events around the Fazbear Entertainment franchise. It's the puppet, promising to right the wrongs of the pizzeria by bringing peace to the crying child's spirit. How does he plan to do this? Well, look at what he says. "We are still your friends." It's not "I am still your friend." The puppet using the plural here means that there would be multiple spirits present in this final scene that consider themselves friends to the crying child, but we also see this: "I am still here." The others are gone now, stuffed, leaving only the one with the ability to transcend the animatronic suits, the puppet. This makes a lot of sense if we again assume the crying child knew the kids who got stuffed during the missing children's incident. And look at the last line the puppet says: "I will put you back together." We've all been assuming his "you" is referring to the crying child, but consider for a minute that the puppet is instead playing the pronoun game, to steal a phrase from CinemaSins, and is instead referring to the plural "you." "You 5 are broken, and I will put you 5 back together." He's planning on reuniting the spirits of these 5 friends. What makes me so sure? Well, we see it happen. It's the conclusion to the whole story. In FNAF 3's The Happiest Day minigame, we see the crying child's birthday one more time. 5 kids in masks representing the same 5 animatronics, with the birthday boy representing Golden Fredbear. You can even compare the locations. Both are long corridors with 3 tables and a 4th one slightly off to the side. The balloons are also the same colors: red, green, purple, yellow, and blue. Even the exit is where the Fredbear stage is, an exit that, if used, results in the bad ending because the souls don't get peace. It's where the child was chomped. And who's the one we see in this minigame putting everyone back together again? The puppet, just like he promised the boy he would do on his deathbed. And here's the best part: how do you get to this minigame? Well, by playing through a bunch of others, including the Stage 01 game, which you access by typing the numbers 395248 into the wall. Why are those numbers important? It's the hexadecimal code for the color of purple guy, only it's backwards. It's Scott's way of showing that the puppet is actively trying to reverse the work of the purple guy and the atrocities committed inside the walls of Fazbear Entertainment pizza places. From here, the rest of the story is surprisingly straightforward. The pizza chain reopens during the summer of 1987 in FNAF 2's bigger location. Fazbear Entertainment rolls out the toy animatronics based on the character models of their merchandise, allows them to free roam, and even equips them with facial recognition software as added protection against child murderers. I mean, there's definitely a pattern being established here, so good on them for taking preventative measures. However, as we all know, it's not enough. As we hear about from the phone guy and see in the Save Them minigame, the purple guy, now the daytime security guard, kills 5 more kids within the walls of this restaurant. When the puppet enlists the help of the possessed Freddy animatronic to save the kids, the purple guy responds, "You can't," because it's true. They're already dead. That said, a case can be made that the puppet successfully gets these 5 souls into animatronics too. Notice that before this, 6 characters were possessed, but now there are 5 new animatronics in this location: Toy Bonnie, Toy Freddy, Toy Chica, Mangle, and Balloon Boy. 5 spirits for 5 robots? Quite the coincidence, don't you think? Additionally, we hear from Phone Guy that around this time, the toy animatronics inexplicably become more aggressive towards adults, but stay friendly towards kids. The only explanation here is that the 5 new child spirits are given life in the new toy suits by the puppets, but these spirits are angry. The pizzeria is gonna close, but not before one final birthday party, where angry and eager for revenge against their killer, these newly created, possessed toy animatronics lash out at their murderer, the purple guy, who they know as the daytime security guard. Except, bad news, purple guy is long gone. He did his business and got out. In his place is Jeremy, night security guard moved to the day shift, wrongfully attacked by a vengeful toy animatronic the day of the birthday, losing his frontal lobe and coining the now iconic Bite of 87 moniker in the process. This causes the location to be shut down and the toys to be scrapped. scrapped. Animatronics from here on out are no longer allowed to walk around, and with Jeremy out of commission, Phone Guy volunteers to take over the position of Night Guard. Which brings us to our conclusion. The story comes to a final head in 1993. We know it's that year because of the minimum wage rate at the time, as well as the 11/12 date on the check. It doesn't matter if you're working night or day shift, all workers get paid on Fridays, and November 12th, 1993 landed on a Friday. It just fits. So Fazbear Entertainment tries to reopen the FNAF 1 location with the original animatronics and Phone Guy as security night guard. With the restaurant reopened one final time, we see this scene, where the puppet is waking up the spirits inside the animatronics one final time. It's time to get their revenge on Purple Guy at last. Phone Guy gets killed, and as we see in the final news article on the wall, no one comes to the restaurant because of its dark, tragic history, with the franchise closing at the end of the year. Sometime after, Purple Guy returns to the building, dismantles the suits, but in doing so, unwittingly unleashes the spirits of the dead children, who attack and kill him, and if they're reunited by the puppet in Happiest Day, finally receive their peace. Well, that is until Fazbear Fright opens and unearths Springtrap, but with all the other animatronics at peace, the puppet must get his hands dirty one final time, returning to burn down the building and finish Purple Guy off for good. Or not. Like any good horror story ends. So what about the Phantom animatronics, Shadow Freddy, and all that? Stay tuned, we're going to talk about those during the live stream immediately after this episode. The video's getting really long at this point, so I want to kind of close it out here. But as we close out here, I have to ask you this. Was that answer satisfying? You see, that's the beauty of the Dream Theory and the frustration of anything else. There's so much lore, so many puzzle pieces to fit together that in order to account for everything, the story can't get much simpler than that. Dream Theory in this instance is so satisfying here because it explains all the messiness of the lore in broad, easy to understand strokes without you needing a PhD in FNAFology to understand what's going on. Sure, it is possible to fit the details together cleanly, but it's not an easy to follow story. It's almost like you need a full-length book to truly put all the pieces together. Okay, I get it. Scrap everything I just said. Scott's got a book. Another FNAF video made moot by a Scott Cawthon announcement. Or not. This is actually a last-minute update. I'm recording this literally hours before the video and live stream tomorrow, but it was just too important to leave out, because it looks like Scott agrees with my conclusion. For once, the story is indeed just too crowded to be satisfying. When talking about the new novel, which, true to form, released early, he said the following. Quote, "The truth is that after a while, lore becomes so dense that there isn't room for a story anymore. Sometimes the timeline gets so full that the only way to tell a real story is to have the story set in a different timeline." End quote. So there you have it. Dream Theory for your simple answer, and a 20-minute long timeline for those of you who want something a bit more complete. So which do you find more satisfying? Well, let's talk about all of that live right now. Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game. Hey guys, and welcome to GT Live, the big Game Theory, FNAF Theory talkback, where we finally put an end quadrilogy
There you go.
of FNAF.
Almost there.
As a good way to kind of cap off the year and of this game that we have been endlessly talking about, doing video after video of, and now we have the story. The Halloween update is out. The book, surprise, surprise, came out yesterday. Thanks a lot, Scott, for that one. True to form, Scott has it in his hands, is like, let's just put it up there. So today, we're talking about the theory that you just saw, the theory from last week, the Dream Theory. We have our trusty FNAF theorist team ready to come on and discuss all of these things. Some of the unaddressed issues, the shadow animatronics, that's a big one. Are you a dream theorist, or are you a timeline theorist, or is there a middle ground? So all of that we're gonna address right now. Just so that you guys know, if you're just tuning into the stream now, or if you're late to the game, you can rewind back to the beginning of the live stream to either rewatch or catch up on anything that you missed from the episode proper. This is a big experiment. We're trying this as like the first live game theory. I'm really excited about it. So in case you missed the actual episode,
you can just rewind in the stream and replay. Also, just so you know that this is going to be archived on the Game Theorist channel. So as soon as this stream is done, it'll be public for you to rewatch in its entirety, episode proper, and then the live stream afterward. Because this is a live stream and because this is the big capper for all us FNAF theorists, I want to make sure that you guys are involved in the chat. So if there are unanswered questions that you want to know, any questions for us, anything that still bothers you, or your own theories, submit them to us in the chat. We're in the chat. Stephanie here is in the chat. Hey, Steph.
Hey, guys.
Stephanie's here in the chat, but then also use the hashtag on Twitter, GTLive. It's just easier for us to keep track of because there are literally 55,000 people watching us right now, which is just mind-blowing. So if you tweet at us, at MattPatGT, hashtag GTLive, that'll help make sure that we have a higher likelihood of seeing your question or your comment, okay?
Yeah, especially if you have big questions, the place to put them is on Twitter, and then other people can also tweet them, and we can see which ones kind of rise to the top first.
Yep, exactly. So there you go, guys. That's it. Rewind if you haven't seen the game theory. Let's introduce some people, though. They have been patiently waiting for me to start this whole thing off. So with that being said, should I unmute them?
Yes.
Let's do that now. Great. So we're unmuting the guys now. There we go. So with us today, we have Dawko, we have Ryan from 8-Bit Gaming, without other Ryan, unfortunately, and we have Smike here. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for being a part of this again. It's always a pleasure to have you guys on. And just so you know, you guys watching the stream, Ryan's going to have to leave in about a half hour. So he's not being rude, and he's not sick of FNAF. And, you know, he's not sick of hanging out. And he's not, you know, sick of the live stream or anything. He just, you know, people have stuff to do on Saturdays. Clearly I don't, but, you know, some people do. Also, we're hoping to get Razbowski on here in a little bit. He said he's running a bit late. He's got work because people actually do work, but he'll be joining us too, all right? So, guys, as some of the FNAF theorists online, I have to ask you, we have the dream theory, where everything is a dream. Everything, like in the child's imagination, all these animatronics are created. The toys inspire FNAF 2, you know, his plushies inspire FNAF 1. Purple guy is a shadowy figure that he sees putting on an animatronic suit. So you have that explanation, or you have this hugely convoluted timeline, you know, of diners, sister restaurants, closings and openings, and 11, I believe I counted 11 in total dead children at least. So where do you guys fall? At this point, we have all the information. What do you guys say? Are you a dream theorist, or are you a timeline theorist, or are you a mix? I'm really curious to get, you know, what your thoughts are on this. Because I know where I fall, but I want to get your opinion first. Anyone? Feel free to take the floor.
Go on, Lewis. You first. You first.
Okay.
Sorry. I have some ideas.
Well, Smike's like, I want to talk now.
I'm gonna let Dawko talk.
Okay.
Okay. I'm a mix. I would say obviously FNAF 4 is a nightmare. I'm a bit iffy with Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and also Five Nights at Freddy's 1.
Okay.
I feel like Five Nights at Freddy's 1 seems to be the most dream-like
Okay.
nightmare because you get all the hallucinations, you see all the animatronics in the corridors like glitching all over the place, you know, and it doesn't seem real to me. It seems less real in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 than FNAF 2 to me. But yeah,
And then-
I'm a bit of a mix.
And then what about FNAF 3 with, you know, do you really think that they have, you know, that 30 years into the future that some company has taken Freddy Fazbear's and the story around it and turned it into an actual horror attraction, and that there's a haunted house dedicated to this, like, serial killer pizzeria?
Yeah, the only part what makes me feel like, okay, that's a bit unrealistic, even though it's a game, is the hallucination part, you know, when Phone Dude says, oh, hey, listen to the gas, like, look out for the gas, it will make you hallucinate, and then you hallucinate.
Lewis, man, that impression.
True. Little known fact, guys, Dawko was the voice of Phone Dude. You can tell the similarities, right?
Oh, phone guy's ringing me now.
Oh man, Daco is both phone dude and phone guy. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, Daco's too popular. Okay, so Daco, you're a mix. Yeah.
I'm a mix.
Ryan, what would you say? Where do you fall on this? Because I know you guys also covered the Dream Theory. I know that you guys have covered, every bit of lore. You talked a little bit about the book as well. What are your thoughts?
I think definitely it's going to be the Dream Theory because you've got to think about FNAF 4. Like it's the last game in like the quadrilogy, and it feels so real compared to the other ones, if you know what I mean. Like nothing in these minigame sequences seems to be strange or unrealistic. And you kind of contrast it to like the other games where it's all like 1987 and there's apparently robots that can walk around an establishment, kill people. Things like I think it's meant to feel unrealistic, and FNAF 4 purged forward the idea that this is the reality and it's all in this child's mind, because the things that Scott teased too with like the child's beak and things like that, it just seems too ironic that they would then be called the toy animatronics, and it was a toy with this missing beak, and then the connection and just the uncanny things like FNAF 3, like Springtrap, that's insane.
Right.
How could that be real? I think it gets too bizarre.
Okay, so you're fully in the Dream camp. You don't think anything is real.
I think it's a big debate. I think
Except for FNAF 4.
Game that kind of did like this. It did like continuous nights to build on this character.
Yeah.
And the nights also you could find relations to all of the games too. Mm-hmm. So I think it hinted too much to these games being within the child's mind of some kind.
Okay. Fair enough. Smike, where do you fall? You had an opinion earlier that you wanted to express.
Yeah, I like this. I think this is good. Daco, Ryan, and me is like left to right. This is perfect. I just want to say, so
we planned it that way completely, Smike. It's great.
Yeah. So when I saw your video, Matt, I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it really influenced my opinion on this a lot.
Achievement unlocked.
I do think it makes a lot of sense. But I just want to say, so first of all, I do think it is Dream. I'm more on the Dream side than on the realistic side. And I agree with a lot of what you said, but I also want to add my own sort of opinion on why this is. I mean, first of all, when Scott did the updates during the last, live stream, which kind of crashed.
It was seamless, guys. Come on, there was no problems whatsoever. It's perfectly smooth.
It's because of Scott's mind. He kind of, but he added these, teasers that really hinted at, I think, sort of unrealistic, dream-like sequence, especially when he said, that there are shadowy figures that can be misinterpreted by the mind of a child.
Yeah.
And we talked about, for me, really, the game breaker was Chica's beak.
Right.
And we talked about Chica's beak, and obviously in FNAF 2, there's this personification of Chica losing her beak, just like in the garden and the mind of the child. Of course, the child's very young, very impressionable. But also beyond that, I mean, if you really want to think about it logically, animatronics, the way they're made, the way they are built, they're very, especially if you look at FNAF 4, I think, you can see on the stage, they're very icky, they're not extremely versatile, they don't round like that.
Two frames, literally, isn't it? They're up and they're down. It's
right.
Exactly, they just go like this. Exactly, and they have a very binary movement, they go up, down, up, down.
The Smike animatronic.
Yeah. The only time as well when we actually see these guys moving around the establishment, there's a character, human in there, always.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really in the child's mind that they become so animated and they go like in your face like that,
Right.
And they really open their mouth. And that's just so far beyond the line of what animatronics, especially back in those days in the 80s, 1983, 1987, in the 1990s.
Those Chuck E. Cheese era animatronics, not cutting it, huh?
They were brutal.
Yeah, and they're on ropes and everything, they're not very good. And it's not like military grade animatronics, like today, like those creepy YouTube videos you see, especially in the restaurant, it just doesn't make that much sense. And also the second thing, which is, I just don't believe in ghosts, I guess. So when we think about it, like logically, there's just so many supernatural things, and unless you could say maybe like in the FNAF World demo there was a purple geist, you could say there's like some kind of a poltergeist in the game, maybe, but that seems very imaginary to me, in my opinion.
Fair enough. So for me, I think this last theory does kind of my viewpoint justice, which is, I think it's a mix. I think that you are seeing bits and pieces of a story through the mind of a child in his dreams because he can't comprehend everything that he's seeing. stuff about serial killers and death and murder and stuff like that, like, that doesn't register to a child. They process death in a very different way. But at the same time, like I say in the video too, like, very clearly there are so many details and little points and sister locations and paychecks and things that you read and color details in the text. And Scott even confirming, my theories and talking about how no one has really unearthed the story of FNAF 4, stuff like that it feels like there's more there. And so, to me, Dream Theory is really satisfying because it's an easy explanation. You don't have to know, like for me, at this point, I have listened to these phone calls so many times that I literally have them memorized.
Recites them.
Yeah,
All the time.
I recite them in my sleep, guys. Like, no joke. But at this point, like, in order to really appreciate and get everything out of, like, a gross timeline theory, that's as simple as you can get. You need 4 or 5 different locations across 40 years of time with 11 dead children and, X number of animatronics and Foxy's toes evolving from 2 toes to 3 toes to 4 toes. Yes, that is true. In FNAF 1 he had 2, FNAF 3. Yeah, so, like, there's so many different pieces and parts to it that, that to me, that it merits that there's something more there, but yes, it is kind of being filtered through the mind of a child, and you are getting these bits and pieces of the underlying theory. That's the one that's most satisfying to me.
Do you want to check where the chat is?
Yeah, actually, Steph, if
Yeah.
you can hop onto Twitter and actually create a poll around, so on at MattPatGT, let's create one of their new polls. Woo, Twitter, new functionality. We're going to create a poll to see where you guys stand. Are you Dream Theory? Are you Timeline Theory? Or are you a mix? So let us know on Twitter, and by the end of the stream, we'll have kind of your definitive answer, right, guys?
So far, the anecdotal stuff from the chat, so I've been trying to watch and see where everybody's netting out. It's very divided.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, falling one way or the other. There's like a small portion that's mixed in the middle. There are some people who are like, it can't be anything but the Dream Theory. It has to be the Dream Theory, and there's a whole other contingent.
They're
It's
right.
like, no, timeline.
Right. Well, okay then. So Ryan, let's toss it back to you. As a pure, because this, and I say it at the beginning of my episode, as a pure Dream Theorist, what is the puppet? That, to me, is the #1 complaint I have against saying that this is purely dreams. Because, yes, I can write off the animatronics, yes, I can write off the purple guy, yes, I can write off the toy animatronics and Balloon Boy and Nightmare Balloon Boy and all this stuff. Like, I can get that, and I can get behind that. But the biggest question mark for me is, what is the puppet? Because we see the puppet in multiple forms, right? And I think FNAF 3 is the most interesting, because you see the Phantom puppet, but then you also see a physical incarnation of the puppet roaming the halls of the FNAF 3 Fazbear Fright restaurant, where he is in physical form. You see his reflection in the water. What is he? Like, is he a personification of the crying child? Is he some other force? Is he God? And that's another thing that's interesting here is, we know that Scott is a religious figure, that his past games had religious undertones. Is there a religious element to this that all of us have been overlooking, and does that play in? I don't know. I'm just tossing that out there for you guys to think about. But Ryan, I'd love to hear, as a pure Dream Theorist, how are you factoring in the puppet? Because to me, I don't have a clean answer to that.
Well, there's one really interesting thing that I discovered in FNAF 2, which I think almost kind of it determines the differentiation between 2 minigames. If you look at the minigame where you just see the one establishment and this Freddy Fazbear character, compared to the one in the FNAF 2 establishment, they're 2 different characters. They're totally different, unique pixel models, which almost means that the situation in the FNAF 2 game where you see the puppet jump scare you, it could potentially be real, because we're seeing this guy driving a car too.
In the FNAF, you're talking about the difference between the FNAF 2 Give Gifts, Give Life minigame,
It's to help them save them when you play as Freddy with the microphone.
Versus Give Cake.
To the children.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. So it brings in this kind of like, this realistic tone where you've got this driver and this different character, not the purple guy. Is it the purple guy? Excuse me, I swear it's the pink guy.
It's oh god! Don't even get me started on. Don't get me even started on Pink Eye.
Sprites on this, but it's. I think the important message of it is the fact that it's totally different to all the other ones where we're playing as these weird animatronics, and this guy like giving cake to these children. It almost seems like you're inside a. That's why it's pixeled and designed to be different
Sure.
when we see this help them save them.
Yes.
So that sequence may be real, for all we know. There may have
Okay.
actually been an original murder, because I think that other than that, there is really no explanation truly that defines the puppet's origins.
Hold on.
Okay.
It's true.
Pause
there,
up.
there was
Okay, great.
there was a really big theory about the puppet linking with the dreams, that the puppet is the dream creator.
Yeah.
Where the puppet has created all of these animatronics, and that's the kid himself creating the dreams.
Okay.
And what Phone Guy says as well, he's always thinking in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. People were saying that's the child's mind. He's always thinking of these dreams, what he's creating.
Okay.
I found that interesting.
Interesting. So, but so it's interesting because to me, if I hear that the puppet is the kid himself, the dream creator, what that makes me think of is he would be more associated with the security guard, because as the security guard, he's helpless, he's scared, he's terrified of these animatronics, right? We see him crying every night. Like, these are scary dreams to him. These are nightmares. And so the puppet, though, is a very empowered figure in the games. He's the one who, you know, he's probably the most ferocious and unknown of all the characters, right? And we see him in the mini games trying to like bring life to all these dead children and all this stuff. Do you think that, like, I don't know, like, to me, I have a hard time justifying a scared
It's
child.
A strange one.
Right.
It's a strange one because, like, you've got to think about the puppet. The fact of how unique he is also in the games too. Like, he's the only one to be not being animatronic. He's like floating around, see-through, things like that. So he's specifically unique. So maybe that's a metaphor for his. I don't know. Maybe the minigame where we see that, it might be real rather than a dream.
Well,
Well, it
I
seems
think
like there's something really far-fetched within that sort of scenario.
Sure. Smike.
It's sort of the equivalent of like the smoke monster in Lost or something. You know? Like every horror movie or every supernatural whatever, you know, has like this creature that doesn't really seem to have an explanation or anything like that. Like he just, you know, it just makes you like think. You know, it just makes you come up with all these wild theories. I think Scott kind of wants that. He doesn't want it to be too clear, and the puppet sort of represents that. I mean, you can see that by how he moves. He's not chained to you know, he has this chain, and he is chained, but he somehow manages to free himself and move through the hallways and just fly whatever he wants. It's like he has his own conscience. I don't know, personally, I never really liked him. I kind of got a bad, eerie feeling about him.
I guess.
See, the puppet is by far my favorite character. I love the puppet. Yeah. High five. There it is. Boom. I think the puppet is fascinating because to me, like very clearly, he feels like the linchpin to all of this. You know, to go back to I think it was Ryan who said, you know, the hints that Scott dropped during the last live stream. Maybe it was Smike because he was making fun of the live stream issues. Thanks, Smike. But to reference the hints that Scott dropped last time, you know, 4 games, 1 story. Yes, that could be 4 games telling the one story of the child dreamer. Or to me, you know, the alternate way of looking at it is it's 4 games telling the one story of a puppet and of a child and his murderer. And so you have the child and the purple guy who the child gets killed at the very beginning of the timeline. He possesses a puppet, and now at the very end of the timeline, you have the puppet setting fire to the Fazbear Fright to kill off the Springtrap suit and purple guy inside of it one final time. And so you have this bookend of purple guy kills puppet, or purple guy kills child, child kills purple guy, and that is your 4 games, 1 story right there. That to me feels satisfying. You know, and yes, you do have to make a lot of like magical hallucinogenic leaps to kind of get there and suspend your disbelief in a lot of ways. But that's what I think. Steph, what's going on?
So that whole conversation brings up something that's been surfacing in the chat and also has gotten a lot of attention on Twitter.
Yep.
Including something that's been retweeted quite a bit at this point from our buddy Shane at Did You Know Gaming.
Oh, Shane! Hey, Shane!
Who's saying that the most interesting question of all of this is the original intentions of the game versus where it went as these stories evolved, which I know we're getting to. I just wanted everybody to know in the chat that and on Twitter that I think you guys are getting there.
Yeah.
But that's the question that's coming up is like, okay, it's cool, now it fits together with the dream theory, kind of. There are a few ways to interpret it. where were the intentions behind
Okay,
it?
let's ask the question then. Okay, so Shane from Did You Know Gaming and a lot of people in the chat are asking, was this planned from the very beginning? Or, you know, when FNAF 1 suddenly took off, Scott's like, hey, we need a sequel, and then, like, was the story planned out from FNAF 1? Was it planned out at FNAF 2? Or was it just kind of like each game built on itself and tried to kind of like retcon in all the little details as you went along? Any thoughts from you guys?
I think it was planned. I think there was too much to the first game that really, because you know the little Easter egg things, and also the calls as well. Some of the things that were said, like, you know, he referenced the Bio-8 maybe once.
Yeah.
And like it was like I think he wasn't sure how the game was going to do, of course, but he wanted the games to do well so that he could finish off doing this story.
Interesting.
He left kind of a few unanswered questions, but it did play much like a game. You know, you did look into the aspects of the lore.
Yep.
I think you'd see it that way, and you could enjoy it just for that. But I think there was always this underlying factor of wanting there to be a story to it as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's my thoughts on it. Yeah.
That's great.
I think you're wrong.
Oh! I wish I had my air horn. Bah, 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 bah.
I agree with you.
Really? Okay, it's Mike. Okay, what do you have to say?
Yeah, because look, I mean, first of all, I mean, you know, it's okay not to know exactly. It's kind of like, you know, when you go into an interview and you start a sentence and you don't know exactly where that sentence is going to lead, but you kind of like, you know, sort of, and then it turns out okay, you know. And,
Mike's had some weird interviews.
I feel like that's kind of how it is here, you know. He sort of starts off a story and he doesn't know exactly where it's going to lead, especially because he's an independent game developer. That's something that's very common.
Yeah.
You then start something, you know, it's something that I think this game also has some similarities to, say, The Binding of Isaac, you know, the Crying Child and everything. And, I mean, that developer, Edmund McMillen, he had that something similar where he starts a game and the game is very coherent and has a lot of really interesting stuff, but he didn't know everything in the beginning, you know. He just kind of gradually...
Is FNAF 4's Crying Child actually Isaac from Binding of Isaac? If you look at the tear tracks on his face, if you look at his height and measure pixel measurements across the two, theory confirmed. Yes, Scott Cawthon is Edward McMillan. Done, boom. Dropping the mic.
I like it.
Right? FNAF 4 solved.
I like it, though. I like that chat. I mean... I don't know, personally, I just like stories where, you know, you see that kind of stuff, because it feels personal. Like, I don't know what happened to Scott as a child, I don't know him personally, but it just feels like he's putting some deep trauma or something that he's trying to desperately reveal, you know, through the game.
Scott,
I don't know.
Scott, if you need to lay down on the couch and just talk through things,
It's okay.
we're here for you. You got the four of us here. We're here to support you, my friend. Okay. So Smike thinks it was just made up. Dawko, how about you, sir?
I agree with Ryan. I think he knew it from the start.
Wow.
Like Ryan said, the posters in the corridor of the crying child, you know, and
Yep.
you know, stuff like that, stuff we didn't know what the hell was going on in the first game made sense later on.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? But
Yep.
even if he didn't, he still made it work, you know. Even if he didn't know that he was going to make 4 games in
Oh, I
1
agree.
year.
I'm not saying it didn't make work.
Yeah, he made it work, you know. He did.
I'm just saying.
Ladies, you're both beautiful. It's okay. Smike's slightly more beautiful just because of the hair. No, it's. So I think I side slightly more with Smike on this one. I think that in FNAF 1, he did have an idea of a deeper story. Like, very clearly there was a deeper story that he had specifically for FNAF 1. I think that was definitely the case. But one of the biggest hurdles, and this is for you guys, you know, watching, a peek behind the curtain of me creating these theories for game theory, but one of the things that I've struggled with time and time again with this series is those initial 4 news articles that you see posted on the wall. And very specifically, it says June 26th, so you already start with like a dedicated date, but then the last of the article says that Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria is set to close at the year end after that tragedy that happened there many years ago. And it's that many years ago where unless you take that one article out of place and use those 3 for earlier, and this one is just like years down the line it appears, that one doesn't have a clean place in the timeline. It's the missing children's incident, which is, again, the thing that starts off all of this whole franchise. It is the first like piece of hidden lore that we all uncovered. Like, that's the thing that is actually the hardest thing to fit into the timeline. And so that's why I think with Smike, I think that once he hit FNAF 2 and started including the death minigames and some of that back lore, that's when he's like, hey, I need to start providing some level of answer or some level of deeper conversation here that'll keep people talking. And then what I think happened, though, was he didn't expect people to go as deep into the lore as they ended up doing, right? Like, I think he expected people to analyze the death minigames. He expected people to try and fit it in with the missing children's incident, all of that stuff. But when people start going in to like literally every word that Phone Guy says and mapping out dates and 2 toes, 3 toes, 4 toes, colors of animatronics, designs of animatronics. I think that there are certain things there that he didn't account for, which then goes to, you know, parts 3 and part 4, and then finally, you know, what he said with the release of the novel, which I end the theory on, which is all about like, hey, sometimes the story becomes so dense and so loaded down with lore that you can't actually move past that and create an interesting story. And I think that was his way of like saying, hey, this is done. I can't do any more with this because there's just so many pieces that have to fit together at this point that it's just too overburdened. I need to kind of wipe some of these things under the rug to create more interesting stories in this world. Real quick, Ryan, you probably have to get going, right, sir?
I have to say for one more question.
Okay, great.
Cool. And Razbowski is also around.
Oh, great.
If we want to bring him in.
Awesome. So we'll call Razbowski. So actually, when you hop off, Ryan, we'll call in Razbowski and slot him in. So
Yeah, make it smooth. Yeah.
yeah, that'll be nice. So Raz, we'll get you in a second. One of the things that I want to ask, and again, for those of you who are just tuning into the stream,
Now's
now's a good time to refresh everyone. For those of you who are just tuning in, if you want to see the actual episode of Game Theory that started off all this conversation, that's kind of the timeline of events that wraps up the whole franchise, go back to the beginning of the stream, just rewind it in your player. It's still there. You can just watch the first 15 minutes and then hop back to where we are in the stream and catch up with us.
Or anywhere in between.
Or anywhere, yeah. Watch anything. That's the beauty of live streaming and video on demand, guys. Thumbs up. And also, we're still running the poll on Twitter, whether you're a dream theorist, a timeline theorist, or somewhere in the middle. So make sure that you're hitting us up on Twitter, at MattPatGT there. So one final question. Ryan, if you want one final question, let's ask it. I want to know, what's a good question to ask you?
There have been some that have come up in the chat, but maybe has he gotten a chance to weigh in on the book or anything like that?
I was going to say, like, is there before you hop off, final thoughts on these first 4 games, the book, which I know you haven't fully read, but like you've been researching it, things like that. What are your thoughts on the Five Nights at Freddy's first story that we've been presented with through these games? Any closing remarks, any closing thoughts, or should I actually ask you a mean question about like Phantom animatronics? No?
Just kind of like my opinion on how it kind of went from FNAF 1 to 4.
What was that? Yeah, comment on FNAF 1 to 4. Great. Cool. So
speechless.
He has been rendered speechless.
Yeah, there we go.
I think you said I think she said with the am I breaking up?
You're a little bit breaking up. It is catching up to you though now. Here we go. There you're back now.
Yeah. Okay. So you're gonna have to refresh me with the question again.
No, just any closing remarks or final thoughts that, you know, as we're kind of putting the wrap on this main series. Anything that you want to close out with?
I think mainly it's just like the story. I think it's worth looking at from like both different standpoints. I mean, like there is the timeline theory, but you know, I think that the people also because the timeline theory has been so prominent throughout this whole thing, the dream theory is now coming. I think it's good to look at it with the fresh pair of eyes, because that's what really inspired us to do that too.
Yep.
And I think it's just nice to consider both ends. As I say again, just the dream theory, you need fresh pair of eyes, really to understand that one. So you can look at it all from a different standpoint, because I can understand why people still believe the timeline theory, because it's very, it's very prominent. And I think that's about it, really. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
theories have already been kind of thrown out there, and I think it's definitely between the two. That's the hot debate now, isn't
Yeah.
it? And that's kind of what the game's closing off with.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think, we have spent the last year and a half looking at all of these events as 100% real and as like these are very specific events happening in a timeline, in a real world setting. And so there's been a lot of pushback to the dream theory simply because it doesn't, it washes away a lot of stuff, it doesn't fill in a lot of the details, whatever, it can be made whatever it is. So I think, to your point, keeping an open mind about the dream theory, if you are a timeline theorist, keeping an open mind about the dream theory and looking at it through that lens, and just staying open to it and seeing how does this all fit together under this new context, I think that's a really interesting point and a good thing to kind of look towards as you kind of like decide which way to go. Because it's so easy to have that knee-jerk reaction of, oh, this is different, this is new, I don't believe in this. Because it wastes all my time that I put into my timeline or whatever, and to do so would do a disservice to the franchise if this was indeed what was intended. So I think that's a great point. Cool. So Ryan, thank you so much for joining. You can hop off now, sir, and Jason, we'll figure out how to call in Razbowski. Okay.
And at this point, we can probably check in a little bit on Twitter and chat. And I'm here standing in as the voice of the chat. So I'm looking for questions.
This is Stephanie, by the way.
Hey, if there are a bunch of questions that I see over and over again, I'm trying to pull those out. And I also have the early results of the poll, which is like about 6,500 people have voted so far. And it's 53% dream and 47% timeline.
Wow.
So it's a pretty close call.
It is. It's a close match. That's pretty intense. It's pretty evenly divided, guys. It's fascinating. What do you need, sir?
Basically, how many people want
What? I mean, can you bring up Razbowski?
No.
No, I mean like, can you? Because what is his Skype? I'm not. Or
Oh, I
You want to grab him?
He should be.
Is he in there?
Accessible to you.
oh, he's accessible to me. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's bring in Raz. Add people. Here we go. He's not accessible to me.
Oh
So
He's in the chat.
he's in the chat.
I mean, I put him in the chat, the contact of Raz.
Okay, that's cool. Well, let's see. Here. So while that's going on, real quick, one of the things that I want you guys to think about, that I want to throw out to the chat here too, or to the guys thinking, because when we bring in Razbowski, we're getting into the nitty gritty here. Two of the questions that have bothered me, and that I think a lot of people complain about for the series, is the Phantom animatronics. Why? What are those things? Why are those specific like four things? The Phantom Puppet, the Phantom Freddy, Phantom Mangle, Phantom Foxy, but it's version 2 of Foxy from FNAF 2 and not a toy animatronic. And also one of the other weird kind of wrinkles in the lore is the Halloween update. So Scott, for Halloween, updated things with Nightmare Mangle, Nightmare Balloon Boy, and Nightmare Puppet, Nightmare Marionette, Night Marionette. It's cute. Good name, guys. And what he said, this is actually confirmed by Scott. Nightmare Balloon Boy is canon, but Nightmare Mangle and Nightmare Night Marionette are not.
What was the rationale for that?
Well, that is the question. That is the question. So, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, because you were talking about the whole thing of can he do the story and not have it all planned out in advance? Can I mention Breaking Bad season 5, or is that like?
You can. I am a fan of Breaking Bad season 5, so I'm curious where you're going with this.
I mean, it's been a while, so I guess I can spoil it, right? Or
I think you'll be hashtag spoiler alert if you have not seen season 5 of Breaking Bad.
I'm just gonna say it in a general way. There was one element of Breaking Bad season 5 which was introduced in a flashback in the beginning of season 5, which then at the end of season 5 was a major element in how the finale turned out. And they actually admitted in I remember I saw a behind the scenes or something, and they admitted that they had no idea how it was gonna be used in the finale and how it was gonna play into that, and they had to sort of figure that out.
I'm curious, what was that element?
So it was the gun, the mesh gun.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to know what that was. So,
Okay.
so not too many spoilers here, guys. But the big automatic rifle. Okay, cool.
Rifle, yeah, that's gonna use at some point, yeah. And that's something that I saw like happens pretty often, like a lot of stories, and like I know Bioshock Infinite had that happen where they figured out a lot of things towards the end.
Yep.
And so it's even like things like Game of Thrones, for example. And so even like very serious writing works sometimes have these very uncertain, and so I think it's natural. It doesn't have to be,
right.
The others.
Well, and it is. It's one of those things that if you plan your story to have a bunch of cliffhangers or things right when you start, and then it doesn't pick up or it doesn't go anywhere, then it's like, well, no one gets to know the story. Like, you don't want to go in with this like huge back lore because there's that expectation of the audience has to be invested in this thing in order to get anything out of it. And so that's not necessarily like a bad thing building along the way. It's just kind of like a necessary thing where like you hint seeds of a backstory and then you flesh it out if it does indeed pick up, in which case FNAF it did. So I think that's interesting. And to the point of the nightmares, and Dawko, I want to hear your opinions on this. For me, one of the things that bothers me, so Scott, like I said earlier, Scott confirmed that Nightmare Balloon Boy in the Halloween update is indeed canon. But then you have Night Marionette and Nightmare Mangle are not. That confuses me. And that's something that I have had a hard time rectifying in really any theory. Because if you're a dream theorist, we see the Balloon Boy, and that translates to Balloon Boy in the FNAF 2 game. We see Mangle in his house, the crying child's house, and that translates to Mangle in the FNAF 2 game. You don't see Puppet, which, okay, that's good, because Puppet is this weird kind of esoteric character, this more spirit-like entity. And so why then is Mangle not canon, but Balloon Boy is? Like, I feel like the two of them should be canon together, or alternatively, none of them are canon, which is equally just as fine, right? Like, you have all three of those guys are specifically from FNAF 2's location, and so if they're not canon, that's fine. Like, it's easy to kind of either write them all off, or write those two as canon and Night Marionette as not. So that to me is one of the fundamental challenges with that. Dawko, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, if Nightmare Mangle was canon, I would be cheering really badly because, it makes sense. Because in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, in the minigame, you see the child walk into the girls' room and you see Mangle there, like, completely destroyed, and it would make sense to see that, like, mangled animatronic as a nightmare.
Right.
So, and in Five Nights at Freddy's 4 minigame, we don't see the puppet at all. So if the puppet isn't canon, which it is, it makes sense because the boy doesn't see him in the FNAF 4 minigame. So I don't get it why Mangle isn't canon.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, hey, Raz, real quick, let's welcome Razbowski to the stream. Hey, Raz.
Hey, Raz.
Thanks.
How's everyone doing?
Doing great, sir. Thanks for joining in.
Aye, no problem. I thought I needed a little bit of fitness. Sitting here at my computer all day, I needed a nice quick sprint home. So a half an hour walk turned into a 10-minute run.
Oh my God!
So thank you for the jog.
No, there you go. Well, I think that does here on GT Live, the stream, we do the clap and a half. So there you go. Clap and a half. Boom. There it is. So thanks, guys. So no, I'm so glad that you were able to make it. Razbowski, since you just kind of ran in, chances are you probably haven't seen my latest theory. So just as a shameless plug to remind people how this stream is working, if you missed the game theory, like Razbowski, you can rewind to the very beginning of this stream, and there it is in a 17-minute chunk at the beginning, so you can refresh and then hop back into where we are now, live streaming, talking about, all the lingering issues, the book. We're going to address the book here in a minute. And predictions, excitement, questions about the movie and FNAF world. So real quick, Raz, I want to get your opinion. Everyone else has kind of stated their case on this. Are you a dream theorist? Are you a timeline theorist? Or are you somewhere in the middle? What is your opinion here of, where all this falls?
Well, when the timeline was first presented, I'm a man of science. I don't believe fairy tales. I don't believe in anything like that. So I like good hard evidence. And my whole family's like a sciencey background. They study chemistry and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Them severely by doing.
Yeah, chemists.
Yeah, chemistry.
I'm on the dream camp. I honestly didn't think, but watching your most recent, well, not the most recent now, but the Dream Theory video, it clicked so many things into place. I didn't want to believe it initially. When Scott hinted all the clues in the last live stream that we did together, it looked like it was leaning towards a Dream Theory, and as you said in the video, it seemed like a bit of an easy solution.
Yeah.
As you said, it's a bit of a gimme, it's a bit of an OP, I think you referred to it as an OP storyline.
It is an OP theory.
You could just say, well, that's completely fine, because obviously it's a dream, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Right.
You want the purple guy wearing orange shorts, yeah.
It's a dream.
And it was the evidence you put forward to it. A couple of examples was the symmetry with the Foxy.
Yes.
Two different things. Obviously, Foxy being out of order, doesn't have the head in the bedroom in FNAF 4, so it's out of order in the game. Makes sense. That's quite a nice tie-in. But also the brother as well. The jump scare, as you said, he pops out from behind the telly or out from the bed. It's a very, very similar jump scare as to both. Mainly Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but kind of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 as well. The way he leaps out from the darkness in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, that fits in quite nicely. And then the toy animatronics as well in FNAF 4. Chica's broken beak, symmetry in FNAF 2, along with Mangle as well. Like, a lot of people were trying for a while to explain why Mangle was in the bedroom in FNAF 4, why Mangle had two heads, why Mangle was broken up, and why Mangle would play. Why would kids be allowed to play with something that's vital? Well, as an animatronic, if you're talking about the timeline, you wouldn't get to touch Chuck E. Cheese's animatronics. You wouldn't get to touch if you went to Disneyland, or you wouldn't get to go up and just grab Mickey Mouse, and whether it's a human or not, you wouldn't get to grab Mickey Mouse, and it just wouldn't happen. So there's no way that the company would be willing to let something as potentially harmful be touched. And I really, really want to believe a timeline. Like, I've been looking at it from every angle, and I've obviously not seen the most recent video, but I really wanted to believe the timeline. But Dream, I can't find too many faults. I did catch the very start of the
oh, great!
Talking about
awesome.
You talked about the puppet.
Yes.
How the puppet didn't fit in with it, and that doesn't fit in with the Dream to me. There's just something. There's something missing there. There's something missing there. And I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Did you tune into the stream while you were running?
Well, yeah, while running, he was jogging to my sultry voice, obviously, like.
Exactly, he was listening to Theory.
Just spurring me, you know.
It was thrusting you forward. It was exciting you onward.
Montage.
No, absolutely. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for getting your work out to get here on time. And join us. It's really awesome to have you. So one of the things that I was gonna bring up now is obviously the book, right? So the book is kind of the big question mark now. Like, it was announced last week. It's out yesterday. It was supposed to be out in a couple days here. Everyone thought, oh, this is FNAF 5. Oh, there's this new poster on Scott's website. What is it? Oh, it's a novel. That's interesting. That's unexpected. Especially in the wake of everyone expecting FNAF World, everyone expecting the FNAF movie. Out of nowhere comes this book. What are your guys' thoughts? What do you know about this book? Do you have any thoughts? I know, Dawko, you have read it. Smike, you started, and Raz, what do you think?
I'm on chapter 5 currently. I'm really enjoying it, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm not a massive reader. Like the last book I read was 50 Shades of Grey, purely for educational.
Sure. You keep telling us that, Raz. Sure. Okay.
It was. My girlfriend was reading it at the time, and I thought, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying it. I don't know how much you've talked about it, but obviously
not much.
It's both from what I've read so far, it's like a retelling of the story. And if you go into it with that mind, like Scott said on his Steam posts, then you'll thoroughly enjoy it from what I've seen. It's the same sort of idea, the same sort of mythos, the same principles behind things, but obviously it's reimagined for a book.
Yep.
Like, the lore in a game isn't going to match entirely up with a film or a book. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
Without like full-on hours and hours of dialogue.
Yep.
Of thing. But I'm thoroughly enjoying it from the 5 chapters that I've read so far.
Cool. So Dawko, I know that you have read the whole thing. You recently did a video about this, kind of covering some of the major points. Without getting too much into it, Scott has made it very clear on Steam that this is taking place in an alternate timeline, alternate universe. It's not 100% adhering to the story that we know. Or at least it's adhering to the story, but not all like the details about every single thing that we come to know and expect about Five Nights at Freddy's in the games. So to you, what does the book show us, or like what does it kind of like elucidate about the story of the games, and what doesn't it do? What does it deviate from? I'm really curious to see, like, what is this actually something that will help theorists moving forward, piecing more of this puzzle together, or is this something that's just kind of like a side story, more like fan fiction, or just like more immersed in this world, but not something that's going to help those people who are really looking for the answers of FNAF proper?
Am I allowed to say spoilers?
This
is a lot.
As much as you can, keep it as like top line as possible. Like don't reveal too much, but like any general themes or thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. So apart from the ending, a lot of the book actually, to me, and I don't know, you got to chapter 5, Raz. When you read the book, some of the stuff matches with what we've been talking about. Like, oh, okay, so that's how it works.
Yeah.
One of the parts which isn't spoilery at all, I'm just going to say something what's not spoilery, is that in the parts and services room in the book, there's these costumes, which are temporary costumes, and they are like different coloured costumes which we've never seen before, which we wouldn't see in the game.
Yeah.
And that solves what Scott was talking about in the game, about the temporary costumes being used.
Okay.
So I feel like in the book he has added a lot of things for us to feel like, okay, that's been solved, let's theorise about that.
Sure.
But the ending of the book is weird with the game. It doesn't fit in entirely. I'm not going to say what happens because it's a big spoiler.
Sure.
But it doesn't match with the game. It kind of does, but not how we want it to be.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
And do we know what location this book takes place in? Like which of the FNAF locations it does?
Yeah. The book.
I think you can say that, and that's not spoilery. That's just more setting.
The cover of the book is the FNAF 1 characters, so
sure.
It's at the FNAF 1 location.
Okay.
Because he talks about Pirate Cove, doesn't he, Raz? Pirate Cove's there. None of the other places have Pirate Cove with the purple curtains and stuff. It also talks a bit about Fredbear's Family Diner, which was really cool.
Yep.
Like the main character goes back to Fredbear's Family Diner.
So we do go back all the way to the beginning of the timeline then with Fredbear Family Diner. Okay, that's cool.
And there are actually dates. He mentions dates about when it was built. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. What date? I'm guessing it's somewhere in the like mid to late 70s.
No.
Oh, I suck.
They actually built the Fredbear's Family Diner in 1982.
Oh, 80. Okay.
Yeah.
I was more close because and for you guys watching the stream, this episode of Game Theory, I for a while my script took it back to the very origins of animatronics, because animatronics actually date back to Walt Disney.
The first version of the script was talking about like Walt Disney and like the opening of Disneyland and stuff.
It was crazy.
It went in a different
It was also
direction.
going to be like Dateline Unsolved Mysteries presents style, and then I'm like, what am I doing? What a stupid idea this was. And so I'm like, rewrite the whole thing. This I kid you not, the episode that we aired today has been rewritten no less than 4 times. because new information, me suddenly having a realization and adding in stuff, changing the style that it's being presented, all that. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up was, so Chuck E. Cheese, which was also founded by the founder of Atari, funny enough. The creator of Atari is actually the founder of Chuck E. Cheese, which is...
Nolan Bushnell.
Yeah, exactly, Nolan Bushnell. It was all kind of a means of getting kids to stay in arcades longer. That's why Chuck E. Cheese, right? And that started in 1977. And so I'm like, oh, around that time, that's when you have Freddy Fazbear's or Fredbear Family Diner. But anyway, so we get so Fredbear starts in 1982, according to the book.
Yeah, I've got another timeline date as well. The murders are right. It happens in June, the June 26th, isn't it?
Yep.
I've got a year now from the book. It's 1985.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And then, like the book, like they say, the group of people, the teenagers who saw the incident, go back to the location 10 years after.
Yep.
And that's 1995.
Yep.
They all meet together. So 10 years before, that's obviously 1985.
Which again lines up with kind of the established timeline here, where we have Fredbear Diner, we have 1983, where kind of that weird Fredbear incident with the chomp happens, but then we say before around that time, that's when the FNAF 1 missing children's incident happens. Closes down the restaurant. 1987, we have the FNAF 2 restaurant.
Yeah.
So that does fit into the established timeline that we've been concocting. Oh, so it's maybe there's more than just a dream here, guys.
You know, I was leaving some comments in the chat talking to fans, and I got banned for leaving too many comments.
What? You were leaving too many comments?
What?
I don't know if I got. It said like I got muted for a little while because I left too many comments. It said you should take a little break. So I don't know.
What?
Really? That's not from
That's
our
not
end.
us.
Yeah,
Not us.
that is not us. So maybe just
Your stuff, YouTube. Okay.
yeah, maybe it's just YouTube being like, hey, stop spamming. Smike, stop spamming, man.
Jeez.
God.
You're the one with all
I
those
like
Star
that
Wars
analogy,
spoilers,
like,
aren't you?
Like that's such a classic.
Yeah.
Atari Chicken Cheese with the arcade machines, and you can see Scott took a lot of inspiration from that. But back to the book, it actually says like the father of the main character, he would make her these little animatronic toys when she was little.
Yeah.
You have all these different designs that it shows in the beginning, which a lot of them didn't make it into the restaurant.
Yep.
But you can see the point of these designs was to keep her, I forgot her name, Charlie, was to keep Charlie company when she was sleeping. Because her mother, I mean, this is a slight, it's revealed at the very beginning. But anyway, so she you know, she's lonely, let's say, I don't know.
Sure.
She's a little girl and her father is working a lot. So he made these animatronic robots to watch over her. And that was the original design, that was the original reason why they existed, actually.
Interesting. And so one of the big reveals this week that happened was the name of the book, which is The Silver Eyes, which to me is very strange, and it made me want to go back. And one of the things that like I've kind of kept track of but never really included in a theory is when are there little pinpricks of light in their eyeballs and when aren't there, you know, because that's kind of a recurring element of the different animatronics too. For you guys who are familiar with the book and have read some of it, what is the significance of the silver eyes?
And is it spoilery, Raz?
Is it? I don't know.
It's you could sort of put it together by chapter 4. It hints in chapter 3,
Sure.
but it tells you pretty much in chapter 4 what it means.
Okay. Well, if it's spoilery, then I don't want to spoil. Like, how about I ask you this then? Does it add a lot to the lore? Is it a big significant thing?
If you look through pictures online, you'll see silver eyes.
Okay.
It is obvious.
Okay.
Once you look through, like in the actual screenshots of the games, you'll see silver eyes in the thing that's intended to.
Okay.
But I don't know whether we're on the same plot here though, Raz, because I know the exact reason for the silver eyes, but you've only got to chapter 4 and 5.
Okay.
Basically, you know, Raz, like the girl scared of that twitchy endoskeleton in the garage. There's an endoskeleton in his father's garage that's always twitchy and horrible.
Okay.
She's scared of it.
She thinks it moves.
Yeah, that's the actual endoskeleton of Foxy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the Silver Eyes.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Yeah.
Okay, so the silver eyes are Foxy's endoskeleton, and he's twitchy, which is why he's out of order.
Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was
Okay,
gonna say.
that's not spoilery. That I think.
I think that's
We-
fair. I think that's pretty
Yeah, we know that there's endoskeletons walking around. Like that's just a common part of the lore. That's fine. Okay, so it really doesn't have like a big reveal. I mean, maybe there's a deeper significance to Foxy and why Foxy is his favorite. Interesting. Is there? Again, does the book reveal anything about like Foxy being my favorite, and so like it may point to a
Daco's so
Daco
excited right now.
is flipping out right now.
There's a point in the novel, right, where Charlie has like a dream, or is it a dream she thinks, where she goes outside a room and she sees Foxy down the stairs, staring at her. Foxy walks up the stairs, her dad comes out in front of Foxy and starts caressing him. It's weird.
That sounds weird.
It's weird, but he starts caressing him and he calms down.
Okay.
It's a weird moment.
All right.
Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
he's got a personal feeling with Foxy.
Interesting. So what it
Interesting.
so what it sounds like then is Charlie, whoever this character is, again, like not to get too deep into things, but you know, whoever this Charlie is, it sounds like maybe the dad is the phone guy to
Yeah.
some extent, because if Foxy was the favorite and they have this personal connection with Foxy, I don't know. So well, let's leave it there. I don't want to get too involved with it. So the ending deviates, but there are kind of these little like hints and allusions and references to the lore that we know and love and have overthought to death to what we see in the games. Okay, so that's good to know. Steph, any questions from the chat
Yes,
that we want to know?
there's, So one question is, so for those of you who have read the whole book or part of the book, after having read it, when do you think Scott started writing it? Do you think he started writing it or does it say? Maybe it says in the book when he started conceptualizing the actual
Well,
story.
I do know one of his Steam posts said it was 10 months ago, I
Okay.
believe.
So it would have been right after like. the
So
first
that would
game.
put it right after FNAF
FNAF
2,
3, I think, right?
3.
FNAF 2 before FNAF 3.
Yeah,
Just
between
before
FNAF 2 and 3.
February.
You
Okay.
got it right,
Yeah,
I'm wrong, sorry.
Bounce Mike.
So
Yeah.
stop making so many comments, Mike. Stop smilking the comments. So
Feel my final form.
so what do you think? Like, so do you think that this was and do you know who sent that, or was that just kind of a general
The
question from the
chat is
comments?
going so fast. It's going so fast. And
Okay,
there are
I didn't know if we
40,000
wanted to
people watching.
call out someone
I
specifically.
wish I could, but it was a while
That's
back.
fine. So the question that I have is, do you think that this is the lore that Scott intended, and you know maybe the latter games deviated in some way or threw off kind of that plan? You know, I'd be curious, looking at just FNAF 1 and FNAF 2, and then reading the book, does that gel into one story that does kind of have a seamless flow? No, Daco says no.
The book doesn't mention anything about FNAF 2 or the toy animatronics.
Okay.
At all.
Interesting.
Damn it, Daco.
What? Is that spoilery?
That's not spoilery.
It's not spoiler. No, I'm not saying it's spoilery. It's just
Oh.
why it's your fault that it didn't. I mean, he might make a second book. You know, he might make a second book where he talks.
Yeah, yes, he did say that on a Steam
he
post.
hinted,
at some
didn't
point.
he?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Sorry, you're all talking about what? What did he say on a Steam post?
That he'll make a second book, possibly.
Oh, okay. See, for me, what I think, and this was just my theory, my lame theory, which was, you know, the FNAF games have such this elaborate lore and like all these details and this and that, and we know that the movie is supposed to come out in 2016, or the movie is coming out in the near future. So, and he's made it very clear that the movie is going to exist in the world of FNAF and Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's not going to exist, but it's not telling the Five Nights at Freddy's story, like, from the games. And so for me, when he first announced the book, I thought it was a weird extension. I'm like, that's unexpected, I didn't see that coming, I was looking forward to FNAF World, but now here's this thing. But one thing that I found, or one thing that I thought is, maybe this book is starting to set up the storyline that we'll see in the movies, right? Where it's introducing characters, names, personalities that are moving us away from just the animatronic focus, purple guy, phone guy, whatever. And here are real people who now, when the FNAF movie comes out, that they are able to continue this story that isn't burdened by Easter eggs, newspaper articles, Atari minigames, whatever, and it can kind of craft its own story that is more accessible to more members of the audience. That was my theory. You guys who are in the process of reading it, do you think that, is there any validity to that? Do you think that's the direction?
Yeah, like, on you go, Dr. Sam.
100%, and I think Raz is going to agree with this as well. When you read the book, I was imagining it as a film, and it worked.
Yeah.
It worked really, really well.
Really?
Yeah, the way it's written and described is fantastic. I think Scott said in his post that was it Kira? She worked on the dialogue and he worked on the descriptions inside the restaurant, and you can clearly see that aspect of it. I think he was the one that was in it. She cleaned the sort of the stuff up.
Yep.
But as Doc was said, when you are reading it, you imagine it, and it's a smooth transition. If you were to read the book on its own, the novel, you don't have to know anything about the game. You don't. If you picked it up, if Aunt Mabel picked it up, she'd be able to understand the story.
Okay.
From the book
without knowing Purple Guy and Fredbear Fry. Yeah. Okay.
That's what the filmmakers have got to do as well. It's not just FNAF fans who are going to watch the film. It's people who have never heard of Five Nights at Freddy's before.
Yeah.
Right.
So then another question then is the movie just going to be a direct-to-film translation of the book, or?
Yeah, I made a joke about that recently on Twitter, where I said, when the movie comes out, people are gonna say the book was better. Like every single.
The book was better, but the games were the best.
And then they'll make Five Nights at Freddy's the game for the movie.
Oh man, Five Nights at Freddy's, the movie, the game, the movie.
Ridiculous, yeah. Sorry, Raz. What's up?
No, I was just gonna say, like, I wouldn't be surprised if the book went straight from the page to the silver screen, as they say. Like, it would work.
Yeah.
And I'd be fine with that.
Cool.
Yeah, I think the book, it makes sense because the writers on the script for the Hollywood movie, they might want some material where they can work off.
Yep.
And the book provides this very, it's like pages and words where it's easier for them, especially because a video game is less, it's more rare, that you see movies based off games, I guess. And
especially good movies based off games.
Yeah, you see more films based on books.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's rare that. Anyway, it's a big subject. But what was I saying? Yeah. So the movie, I think is going to be. It seems like the book, from what I see, the movie might have some kind of. It might be based off that in some way because it has so much environment to it. Not just a restaurant, not just this, not just that. It has names. It says, her name is Charlie and her best friend was named Michael and he died in that school. And so in the movie, to adapt to a more general audience, it makes sense to personify things like that and give them names and places. Not just a restaurant that has no name.
No, it makes total. Yeah, you can't create a movie and the characters are named Phone Guy and Purple Guy, right? And Crying Child, like, hey, Crying Child, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm doing well, Purple Guy, and yourself? Oh, excellent day today, fantastic. Oh, there's the Springlock animatronic. So cool. Okay, so that's a little bit about the book. What do you think about what's been released about? Oh, Steph, do you have a question from the comments?
Go for it.
I really wanted to see what your thoughts are about what's been teased about FNAF World, because that's another big thing that's coming down the pipeline very soon. And we've already gotten teaser trailer, or not teaser, well, we got the teaser trailer, but then we've also gotten teasers on the website where Mangle is hanging himself. Things like that. What do you think? How's this going to fit in? Does it fit in? Are you excited about it? I just want to get your general impressions from you guys. Any thoughts?
I'm excited for it, but from what it seems it's a completely separate entity, because obviously you're controlling, you are Chica now, you are Toy Chica, you are Fredbear, you're Nightmare, you're all these different characters, so you're playing as them, so it's almost like they are cartoon characters. They're not a child's soul, a murdered child's soul stuffed inside a suit.
Yep.
They're as normal creatures in a thing. Say an example, very loosely based, but you've got Pokemon, but then you've got the Mystery Dungeon games.
Yep.
Yeah. So then you're controlling the Pokemon in the Mystery
Exactly.
Dungeon games now. So it's completely different. You're interacting as Toy Chica with Toy Bonnie, or they have their whole different universe of conversations together.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to give us any more lore. I think just like the book, it's going to follow maybe similar things, but
Yeah.
be a separate thing.
Smike, I saw you raising your Sharpie marker. I'm assuming that means you have something to say.
Yeah. So I just want to say about FNAF World. I just want to say that for that game, when it comes out, it makes me think in some ways of Smash Brothers. You know, where they take all the
Best characters and throw them
Yeah,
together.
exactly, and they put all these recognizable characters in one place, and these characters, they don't have the same role as they had in the original game.
Yeah.
And it kind of breaks the lore in a way, but it's all like a cluster of all this stuff.
Yep.
And it just becomes like a fun party.
Yeah.
That's
So then I guess the question is, if we do think, and it seems like we're probably in agreement about this, where, you know, the FNAF story proper is over, we've got the books, we've got the movie coming out to kind of continue that darker storyline. One, is it going to be dark? And then two, second question is, do you think that, like, if you move away from murdered children and stuff like that, is there life in a second FNAF story? Like, do you think that, like, you know, this game can catch fire again?
You're talking about FNAF World?
Yeah, FNAF World.
Yeah, okay. I mean, look, we'll see. I mean, if this works out the way Scott intends it to, I have no doubt we'll see kids that are gonna be all like, you know, this FNAF World game, did you know there was a horror game that this was based off? Like, you know, that today I learned on Reddit. Today I learned there's a horror game that FNAF was based on. So cool. Childhood ruined. Hashtag ruined.
I think it's still got life. It all depends on your why you joined FNAF. Did you join it for the horror element, or did you join it for the storyline? Because it's still going to have the story elements. Because it's still going to be you're still going to have the enemies. So I'm sure Purple Man's going to be in some form in there. I think I heard Smike mention earlier on Purple Geist. Is it Purple Geist?
Yeah.
There's an enemy in the joke version that Scott put up on Halloween. So he's going to have that, and he's going to add in little jokes like that, so there's going to be something there for everyone. If you're an RPG fan style, if you like Final Fantasy sort of games like that, you're going to enjoy it. I'm sure he's going to add in some sort of arcs back to the series, and it does seem to have some sort of dark element involved, and I think he's got some tricks up his sleeve. You know what he's like with hype, generating buzz. He's a one-man marketing machine,
Right.
and he's got something big to reveal still, I think, a dark element to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these teasers, what he's been.
Mike is cool.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Hashtag Smike is cool.
Hashtag next cool.
Hashtag smilking the comments.
Thanks for starting it, Razbowski. That's a great hashtag.
He had his Sharpie out, right? And everybody's like, oh, Smike's working away here. Smike's got some really cool, important points to the FNAF lore.
If Smike can't, hey, you know what? If Smike can't milk the comments, he will get it onto the stream in some way. Get it up there. Get it up there.
Smike, are you the fake Scott Cawthon that's all over the comments? We're just getting so many screenshots of fake Scott Cawthon
Yeah,
comments.
there's Scott Cawthon impersonators.
There's one Scott Cawthon impersonator in particular who only leaves comments in rhyming couplets. That's my favorite one.
That's clever.
That is clever. Big brother getting old at the funeral. Dad's hands were cold. Unless these are just poetic statements from the book, maybe, you know, I don't know if they're.
Maybe.
Wait, Wonderland at Time FNAF on Twitter has been tweeting at us all these screen caps in the FNAF 4 minigame. Why do we see plush golden Fredbear in the drain? Right, in the sewer. as we know.
We're digging pretty deep.
Right, so that's why, there's always got to be those Scott Cawthon impersonators. Was something happening on the website, Steph? I saw a couple people call out website.
That was also fake.
That was fake?
Trolls.
Trolls, man.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, look at the website.
Look at the website. Yeah.
As though that's not an easy one to confirm, guys.
Yeah.
Like, guys, look at the new thing on.
Those emails where someone says, Scott Cawthon is like my brother's uncle or something. Improve it. It's like what? It's just I get these so often too. It's anyway.
I like the theories that Dawko is Smike, or no, that Dawko is Smike. That Dawko is Scott Cawthon because of your connections with him. Or like, oh yeah, I'm talking to Scott Cawthon right now. He's emailing me right now, guys. Update my website. Update my website. It's you. It's been you the whole time. Confess. Confess. So what do you have planned for us next, Scott Cawthon, aka Dawko?
The website is just updated. Or could if it actually did, though, right now?
Right, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's totally confirmed. Hashtag confirmed. Hey, real quick, so where are we on the poll, Steph?
So on the poll, we're holding strong. It's over 10,000 votes at this point, and it's still 47 to 53 Dream Theory.
So Dream Theory is still winning out.
But by so little. And then there are a whole bunch of people in Twitter and in the comments who are like, well, I'm kind of mixed, and like maybe the mini games are real, and then maybe the actual game is like the dream part. But I think a lot of that's been addressed at this point. I think it's been talked about. The big questions that are starting to come through are more like, hey, at the end of this, like the year of FNAF, what was everybody's favorite FNAF? What would you have done differently? How would you have ended it? Or
that's interesting.
Something like that. So we're getting a lot of those in. If you guys want to pass those around.
Okay, yeah. So I'm curious about that. So because we asked about favorite animatronics last time. What's your animatronic spirit animal? What's your favorite game? All that. I am curious though, for the story, what is your Dream Theory aside? Throw Dream Theory out the window. What is your ideal storyline for these games? Like what is the most interesting part of it to you? What is the story that you would have liked to have seen fleshed out more? If you were Scott Cawthon, you had a game that took off called FNAF 1 or FNAF 2. How do you complete your story? What is your most satisfying ending to this? Or maybe it is Dream Theory. Maybe you're like, you know what, I'm happy with this being a dream. But Raz, you said yourself, you were a slow adopter to Dream Theory, as was I. You were hoping to come up with a solution that wasn't a dream. So if you were in his position, what is the story that you would have liked to have told?
It's hard to come up with a satisfying ending that everyone will just accept. Because
Sure.
you either hand it to them on the platter, or you make it so obscure that we're debating it for ages.
Sure.
I think the way he's done it is very smart, because it's going to keep the franchise alive.
Yeah.
Because it is going to get people like us discussing it for days, and as you said, the poll is so close.
Right.
So people are still on the fence about everything with all this evidence in front of us. Personally, I would like to have seen...
Smike, peace out. Smike's like dropping it. I'm gone. Dropping the headphones. Peace.
Just a little nap.
I'm done with this.
Smike's too cool for this place.
Right? Too cool.
He's got his shout out on the internet now. He's off.
he's like, yeah. Now that hashtag Smike is cool is trending, I'm done with you guys. I got it happening. I'm out of here. Smike, glad you could join us. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It's great to have you as a part of the stream. Thanks for rushing here to get here on time. You're the best, buddy.
I feel guilty now.
Sorry, Raz. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just had to rib Smike a little bit.
No, that's cool. I'm always in favour of stopping stuff for jokes. It's the best. It's the best way to stay alive.
As is eating and sleep. Yeah, other good ways of staying alive. Jokes, a close third place though. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It goes like your physiological needs, jokes, clothing. There you go, done. All right, so anyway, Razbowski, back to FNAF as told by Raz.
I would have opened the box because I think that's the most infuriating thing for everyone.
Oh.
I like the mystery about it,
Yeah.
but unless he was just clever and didn't put anything inside it, but was it I would like... I don't know, it's hard. I didn't make the game, so I can't make a game, but it would be interesting to find out if he ever intended it to be open.
Yep.
Like, was it just a metaphor for everything?
Yeah.
Like he said, the story is inside the box, but each of you have to open it via solving it for yourselves.
Yeah.
Is that what he meant by the box?
Yep.
Or was there going to be a clue at some point that somebody somewhere would put the pieces together and Scott would update a patch and say, yes, this is it. Huzzah, the puppet comes out, the confetti everywhere, there's a grandfather clock noise. 6 a.m. Scott comes out the box beside the puppet going, yeah, solved it. And then he plays a fight.
I actually love that idea, and I think that's a great point, right? Where to know whether or not the box was open, to me as well, one of the questions, I think a great question that follows that is there something physical in the box? Like, is it actually a physical thing, or is it a metaphor? You know,
It could be a physical thing. It's all the pieces put together. Is that?
well, it could be.
Seems unlikely at this point.
No. If it's all the pieces that are put together, similar to me with the clock. Like, for me, the clock was the piece, or all the pieces put together, like, was symbolized to me with the clock. Like, that was the one that suddenly, like, oh, I get it now. Here's where all these things come together. Similar to the Chica Beak. You know, that was another one where the Chica Beak was like, oh, here's a lot of things that suddenly connect. And so, to me, if there was a physical thing in the box, and of course we're talking about like virtual games, so obviously it's nothing real, but to me, I feel like it would be, you know, those 1, 2, 3 objects or items that suddenly like make a lot of things snap together, and it's like, oh, I get it. Or maybe it's a picture of the crying child with like purple guy behind him and phone guy behind him, and it's like, oh, it's the family photo or whatever. But that to me is what a physical object would be in the box. But I agree with Raz. I think, especially now that he's starting to branch out of the main video game storyline with FNAF World, with the books, with the movie, if the quadrilogy of games is truly done and that story of the crying child, the puppet, whatever, has been told, I would love to know kind of his take. And I think at this point the community, and Scott, if you're watching right now, we're talking to you, I think at this point the community is okay with it. You know, I think that similar to, you know, frustrations around Lost, you know, where that story got drawn out and you never really got answers, and then at the end you kind of got unsatisfying answers, but like it was able to be put to rest. I think here there's enough support for Dream Theory, there's enough support for Timeline Theory, and knowing kind of where you fall, what your thoughts were, how the pieces fit together for you would be interesting. I think the community would be accepting of it, because I know that was your concern. Still talking to Scott, aka the camera right now, but I know that was one of your big concerns, so it's okay, man. We'll support you. We love you. Hashtag love equals love. There you go. So hugs. Oh, hugs for Scott. Hashtag hugs for Scott. So Raz wants to open the box. I want to open the box. Michael, Dawko, what do you guys think?
Michael, how did you know my real name?
Yeah, we've met in person. You know, we're beyond just Mike at this point. You and me.
That's true.
Okay, for me...
Yeah, what is the story that you want to tell, Dawko?
For me, I wish, if I created the game, I would have branched out the mini-games so we understood it easier.
Yeah.
For example, I wish Scott did some more cutscenes, like in FNAF 2 when you're in the Freddy costume and you scan around the room. I wish he did more cutscenes, which explained a bit more, for example, because, for example, my favourite trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's was Five Nights at Freddy's 3, because of the amazing animation he did. So I wish maybe he did like a cutscene at the end of FNAF 4 or something where we started to see some things, like through cutscenes rather than mini-games.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
You know what though, this is gonna sound so trite or like trivial, but I wish, you know, if I were Scott, I would have added more of these cool little moments that have like very, very little chance of happening and that just scare the crap out of you. Like FNAF 1 was
Sure.
the best at that. Like there was so many of those. Like for example, the secret Bonnie death screen, where literally if you die, you have like 0.1% chance that you have like Bonnie standing there with like a static noise in the background for 10 seconds, just staring at you
Yep.
and die. And that was just so cool. That's just something I always thought about in horror games. It'd be awesome. And I think it's nice because when you're an indie game developer, you're not a big company, you can do these cool little things. And I feel like we kind of slowly lost that as FNAF games, progressed.
Well, FNAF 3 had the Springtrap animatronic like deaths. That's one that came to mind for me. FNAF 2 maybe not so much, and FNAF 4 maybe not so much, but 3 was definitely the one that comes to mind for that as well, where it's like, the Springtrap suit and purple guy kind of like emerging from that. But no, I agree. That was a really cool. And again, like those are pieces that didn't necessarily directly relate to the lore of the game, but were cool little Easter eggs that made you realize that, hey, there's something more here. There is more to this story that I want to explore and experience. So that's really interesting. One more time, since it's been a while since I reminded you guys, if you're just tuning in for the stream, because I know that there's more people coming in. The beauty of live streams, new people come in all the time. You can rewind for the actual episode of Game Theory, rewind to the very beginning of the stream. There's your 17-minute long video, so that way you can get caught up on the timeline, how it relates to the Dream Theory, all that. And then tune back in to the live stream where we're starting to wrap things up here, I think. I don't know, any other big questions from the comments or Twitter that we should be answering right now?
It's, a lot of it's really just around what you guys are excited about. Any other like final thoughts? It feels like this is like the culmination of Five Nights at Freddy's for 2015, and it's like, okay, we're done with these games. We're done with with the theorizing on them, and it's...
You have your holiday
nice
reading
place.
assignment.
And everybody's still fighting about timeline theory, but that's okay.
Sure, no, that's
okay.
That's fine. So I guess the question I have for you guys then is, how do you see FNAF playing into the wider gaming space? Right? So, the core series is over, it's starting to move into RPGs, it's starting to kind of branch out, but what impact do you think FNAF has had on gaming, on YouTube culture, on this indie games in general? Like, what do you think, stepping aside from the story, stepping aside from the lore, all the details, all that stuff, just FNAF as a series, what do you think changes from this point forward about video games, about entertainment, about YouTube?
I was actually talking about this to my friend at work today. We were talking about what a success story Scott's had.
Yes.
Because he's such an inspiration in the fact that he's gone from just a loving guy, he's got his family, he's got his wife, and he was working at a Dollar General, is that right? Part of the story. So that's not a particularly fantastic job. He's made all these games in the past, and he's obviously got a passion for it. And then he gets this hit, he gets this one hit, he gets his break, and he capitalizes on it. And not only has he continued to create games that have inspired so many people, he donates so much money to charity, he's such a nice guy. I mean, the support he's given us as YouTubers, the community in general, the almost one-on-one interaction he gives fans on a daily basis on the Five Nights at Freddy's forums and stuff is incredible. And I think a lot of people have taken stock from that. I mean, you have all these inspiring kids, basically. They're like 10 to 15, sometimes they're a little bit older, and they're going out and making their own FNAF games. They've seen that anyone, if they've got the passion for it, can create a game. I'm useless to that kind of thing. I'll stick to being on the camera, but... the amount of fan games that I've played, that Doco's played, that Smike's played as well, some of them are really, really good. And I think FNAF gaming, the games alone is going to leave a huge impact and potentially create one of these people that's been inspired by Scott is going to create the next big game at some point potentially. And I think his legacy will last for a long time, maybe hidden away slightly underneath everything, but one of these kids that's been inspired by him alone might make the next big game, and I think that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I think that, and I think you bring up a really good point there, which is something that I'm thinking about game developers wanting to include more Easter eggs, more seeming randomness to things, more unsolved mysteries in order to get people talking about it and all that stuff. But I think you bring up a really good point, which is a very positive part of this, which is, yeah, it has inspired so many different communities to engage with this franchise in so many different ways, right? You have all the artists on DeviantArt who are taking their favorite animatronic and doing like fan art around them. You have all us theorists on YouTube, you know, crafting theories, talking about it, doing live streams like this, talking with you guys in the comments to figure out like what is the lore behind this. That's awesome. But to your point, Scott, in doing this, has inspired so many people to be independent game designers, to go out and make their own fan games, to show that, like, hey, you can be one guy who has a passion and look at what you can accomplish, look at what you can do, and that's an incredibly positive impact to leave for a very dark, scary game, you know. But and for a game that a lot of time gets a lot of hate because of it being a sellout and cash grabby and all this stuff. But you're totally right, like. You know, the fact that it's inspired so many people to create, you know, to be creative, to do their own videos, to do their own artwork, to do their own games, like that's an incredible legacy to leave. And like you said, even though if it gets forgotten down the line, you know, or like it starts with Scott and like 6 nights at Tommy's becomes like the next thing, or whatever, you know, like becomes the next game, and it was inspired by Five Nights. Great, that's awesome. And so I think that's a really good point to make there. What about you, Smike, Dawko? Any thoughts?
Well, if it wasn't for FNAF, I wouldn't have met any of you guys. I mean, I know this is getting a bit close here, but you know. One of my best friends is Raz, and without Five Nights at Freddy's I wouldn't have met him, and I wouldn't have even started YouTube without Five Nights at Freddy's. I wouldn't have started a career on YouTube without the game, and that's had a really deep impact on me, because when I'm older and let's say I'm not doing this anymore, I'll always remember this game, and I'll always remember Scott, and I'll always remember everybody who was a part of this like part of my life. It's a big part. I mean, it's been a whole year. Yeah. All about this game for me, and yeah, what Raz said as well. A lot of songs as well.
The musicians like Nate Wants to Battle and Graveyard. I can't think of his name.
And It's Me.
Yeah, it's me.
And Puppet Song.
Thanks, Smike.
Great songs, right?
Shameless promotion, Smike.
Hashtag shameless.
Because
Smilk it.
Because they use Click Team Fusion, right, to make Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know whether that's an easier thing to do to make an actual game, but it's gave a massive opportunity for people who haven't even made games before to, you know, try it out. And Game Jolt, you see so many fan-made games based around Five Nights at Freddy's, and some of them are absolutely amazing. Like Ross says, one of my favourite ones is One Night at Flumpty's.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely amazing, you know. But other games as well, indie developers have made games like The Boogeyman, which is really good, it's FNAF inspired. Slaughter Me Street is FNAF inspired. Emily Wants to Play is a really good one as well. The games are like you survive till 12 AM to 6 AM. Yep. It's not really FNAF, and they've got a mystery, like you said, Matt. And it's really good, you know. I love seeing games with a lot of mystery, and it seems like Five Nights at Freddy's has inspired a lot of people, including myself as well.
Yep.
I just want to say a quick shout out to John Chrome, because he made One Night at Flumpty's. I know he had some trouble, like just dealing with his game, and he ended up not doing a third one. And I know he had a lot of self-doubt, so I just want to say he makes some great games. And everyone who, honestly, one of the best FNAF fan games out there, one of the most creative ones. And not only was it a good fan game, but it also changed the game's design itself a lot.
Yes.
It kind of broke the rules of the game in some ways and changed it to, his own style.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Smike, any takeaways for you as far as as we kind of wrap up this core part?
Oh, I got the honor. Okay. I just want to say, I agree with Razbowski a lot and Dawko as well. I just want to say, Scott Cawthon, just to me personally, and to a lot of other people, I'm sure he's been a big inspiration.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that Five Nights at Freddy's is almost like a poster child for the possibility of, you know, not just independent game developers online, but just literally any independent person who is either alone or in a small team of what they can accomplish, you know, in the age of the internet, where you don't need a huge team or a huge production budget. You can have, you know, one guy, you know, a family man who lives with his wife and children and lives and works at the dollar store, and how far he can get. And, you know, people like me and you guys, you MatPat, you Dako, you Rezbowski, you know, Markiplier, we didn't start, you know, rich or, you know, famous. We kind of built that over time, and we didn't have much.
Wait, you're rich, Smike? Smike!
Not really.
Yeah, you built your rich and famousness over time? Oh man, Smike! Hashtag Smike is cool. Must be doing really well for you, buddy.
No, but I'm just saying, like, you know, we didn't have we're not like Hollywood, you know, we're not like the Kardashians where we were born into this, you know, or something. It's something
Yeah, your
that
hair is very
is very
pretty.
inspiring, I think. And whether you're an artist or a game developer or a YouTuber or whatever, I think this is, it shows that you can do stuff. You can do it by yourself. You don't need to, you know, go and find 50 people and build a huge company to make a mark. You can just, you know, just go do something cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we keep saying, like, you know, Scott was this one man who did all this thing. He's a one-man marketing machine. You know, he inspires indie developers. In a lot of ways, he's very much a developer of the YouTube generation, right? Where all of us, you know, speaking on behalf of YouTubers in general, you know, you're writing scripts, you're editing, you're audio editing, you're doing all these different things because you're passionate about it, right? Because you love it, because you have something that you want to share with an audience and with viewers. And Scott did that, you know, even though his first couple games weren't successful, he persevered, and, you know, he found kind of that spark that lit a fire under so many people. And similar to YouTube creators where, you know, they're trying for years, you know, making all these different videos, staying with it, staying committed to their community, and then finally all of a sudden it's that one that finally, like, they hit on something and there it is, you know, and it's a really interesting story to parallel Scott in kind of the gaming world to YouTube in kind of like the entertainment or like video creation world, and how similar, you know, those mentalities are. For me, you know, one of the things, like I mentioned earlier, one of the big impacts I think is going to happen is you're going to see a lot more catering, honestly, to theorists of the world. You know, I think the gaming industry is recognizing that subpar stories and stories that are just kind of like thrown in at the last minute or haven't been really thought about from the audience perspective aren't gonna fly so much anymore. Like, yeah, it'll sell some numbers or whatever, but if you really want to generate that groundswell and that excitement around your franchise, giving them Easter eggs, crossovers, allusions to other things, references that then a community can build around and start to piece together for themselves and rally behind, I think you're gonna start to see a lot of that, for better and worse, right?
One of the big ones that's come through the chat. Thoughts on the social phenomenon that is FNAF, and basically how it was this tiny indie game, and then it's this unbelievable, phenomenal success, and how does that change the game for video games in general, for the gaming industry?
Yeah, so that's, who is that? That's Calvin Ball?
That was Calvin Ball in the chat, but it was also, I mean, it was so many others, and the chat is going so fast.
Yeah, so Calvin Ball is the one that we were able to pull out. Yeah, I mean, it's very true, right? Like, this game shows that, yeah, like, gameplay, that's a core component of it, and the gameplay was that perfect fusion of what YouTube really loves, which are jump scare reactions. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared! You know, like, it's funny to see people scared, because YouTube, at its core, is founded between a relationship between a creator and the audience and the person who's watching, right? And so, you know, when you're scared, when you're emotional, when you're, you know, happy, those are the moments that you are most true to life. Like, those are the true moments of humanity. And it's like, you know, when you're scared, you're not worried about how you look or how you're acting or how you sound. You're just scared, right? And I think that's a big reason why horror games in general have worked so well on YouTube, is you get to see those kind of genuine moments with some of your favorite creators, and Scott was able to hit on that.
Yeah.
But then he also had the foresight to say, hey, well, there is something deeper and richer here, and it really has changed kind of the social element of games, where you're instead of, like Ubisoft is a really good example, where, you have that single player campaign of Assassin's Creed and you go through it and then it's done, right? Like there isn't a lot of subtext, there isn't a lot of unsolved mysteries, maybe a few Easter eggs here or there, but it's very much like a linear experience. Whereas FNAF, like is dropping all these little things. There's unsolved mysteries. There's incomplete information that people want to get behind and solve. So I think that's that. The different animatronics representing different personalities. And people saying, they're all fictional characters and they all kind of behave fairly similarly. But to see people rally behind Foxy is my favorite, or oh, I love Bonnie, or oh, Chica is so hot, or whatever, like. Crazy, but it hit that perfect formula that really spoke to people's personalities and hit so many people. One of the other things, Raz, to your point earlier about inspiring a bunch of creators, one of the other communities that we haven't mentioned is the 3D animation and like machinima community, which again is one of those kind of small up-and-coming communities that are like, especially when it comes to FNAF, driving just like tens of millions of views on every single video, where, people are going in and 3D animating these characters and crafting their own storylines around them, engaging with their own adventures with these characters. And that's, a whole new part of, gaming entertainment, YouTube digital video, that like I haven't seen any other game really do. Like machinima and like Halo and stuff has kind of been a thing, but like to the level that people are 3D animating these characters and then making them come to life in these videos, that's a whole nother thing, which I think is super cool. And there's that whole community there.
And then there's John B13, who met his girlfriend through FNAF.
Oh, John B13, at Kid Gamer, met my girlfriend through FNAF.
There have been a couple of those that have come through.
Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, like
I met Dawko through FNAF, so I guess that's
It's pretty much the same, right?
yeah. You're an OTP, guys. Are you the one true pairing right there? Oh.
it's like a whole shit.
Love is love, guys. FNAF is love. FNAF is life. So, and just to piggyback off of everything that you guys have just said, like I met all of you through this. The community of theorists like expanded exponentially off of this. Like, when I was
theorists a thing before FNAF?
Before FNAF, I think it was. I think, with kind of some of the like Mario is Mental episodes and Sonic the Hedgehog, like how fast is he? There were a lot of like debunking episodes and like MatPat is wrong, and so people, and so there were a lot of other channels that were doing, their own versions of theory videos. 8-Bit Goldfinch is one. G-Noggin is one, a few others come to mind, that they were doing it, but FNAF took that and just like multiplied it by, tenfold, 20-fold, because now all of a sudden everyone's having their own theories, everyone's seeing our theories and kind of riffing off of those and coming up with their own explanations, and then not even just on YouTube, but like the thousands upon thousands of Reddit threads all trying to come up with solutions here. So like theorizing became a genre, like really became solidified as a genre through this game, and really kind of hit mainstream on YouTube through this game, which is pretty incredible. So that's really cool. And even just speaking from personal experience, like, FNAF was a huge subscriber driver for us. It introduced a whole bunch of people to who we are and what we do. And so like just it's fascinating to me, because you always hear about like the butterfly effect, and we're all familiar with Until Dawn and like butterfly effect, ripple effects, this and that. And what Scott has done with one game has affected so many lives in such a positive way. And sure, you have people being like, oh, he affected my life in a negative way because I'm so sick of these FNAF videos. But like, that's a small price to pay for the number of people who found fan bases online, who found an outlet for their personalities, for their passions, for their artwork, found something that spoke to them and their identity in a way that nothing else had. And so just kind of across the board, say what you will about the games, the story, the gameplay, whatever, hate it or not, the positive impact that this series has had is just tremendous and earth-shattering for video gaming, for YouTube, for all of our personal lives, and for the community of viewers out there who are are excited about FNAF World, the book, the movie. You know, it's not going away anytime soon. But, you know, I think this is a great moment to look back and say, hey, you know, this is a game that we, like you said, Dawko, that we've lived with for the last year. It was a part of YouTube Rewind. You know, it is a part of our culture now. You know, and to the outside world, outside of YouTube, they probably still don't know what Five Nights at Freddy's is. But to us, it has been so all-consuming and such a big part of who we are and what we do that, you know, to not pay it service and take the time to thank Scott for what he created would be a disservice, because it really has been, you know, quite the ride. And Smile, yeah.
And Patrick lives on
Right,
Twitter.
guys, am I right?
Says, I give this stream 5 Scots out of 5.
Oh, Patrick Lips at WH33T Wheat Bread.
Yeah.
I give this stream 5 Scots out of 5. All right. Well, I think this is a good place to kind of wrap it up, yeah? I feel like that was a good summary statement. So thank you guys for joining, and thank you, Ryan, who was earlier in the stream. So Dawko, Smike, Razbowski, Ryan, and other Ryan from 8-Bit Gaming. Guys, if you have not checked out their channels, please do so. They're great FNAF theorists, going even deeper than I do on a more regular basis. But then also doing stuff that isn't just about FNAF. You know, there are other games out there, right? I know it's mind-blowing. So what? So go check them out. You know, playing Yoshi's Woolly World, you know, playing all the FNAF fan-made games. I'm actually, you know, gonna look at you guys, you know, look at some of these other fan-made games. Now that we're playing games on the live stream, I'd like to test out some of these, because I haven't gotten a chance to play them. So I'm definitely gonna check out One Night at Flumpty's. So I'm excited about that.
That's a good one.
Is it? Is it a good one? Good, cool.
It's amazing.
So guys watching the stream, subscribe to them. Again, Dawko, Smike, Razbowski, 8-Bit Gaming. Give them some love on YouTube and on Twitter. Thank them for all their work. Thank you guys so much for joining.
After this, the links to everybody's channel and Twitter handles will go in the description. They're not in there right now, but we'll get them in right after this.
Yep.
And you can also explain sort of how to watch this video after.
Yeah, and so just as a reminder to all of you who are tuning in right at the tail end here, just a quick reminder, if you're just tuning in, if you missed part of the stream, as soon as this one's done, it's being published live, publicly on YouTube, on the Game Theorist channel, as the latest episode of Game Theory, because it is. The first 17 minutes are Game Theory. This was a big experiment. This is a big event. We wanted to make this a big event. And so you'll have the first 17 minutes as Game Theory proper, rewind, watch it from the beginning, and then tune in for all of our kind of like analysis, next steps, thoughts, things like that we've been talking about with all these great guys who joined us today. So, you know, thanks to them as the audience, and thank you guys for an incredible, and thank, you know, you the viewers for, you know, an incredible 2015. Honestly, like, this year has been crazy, and FNAF has been obviously a huge part of that, but like, you know, the theorizing that you guys have been sending all of us on Twitter and in the comments, the requests for new videos, you know, the discussions that you guys have wanted to have, it's been incredible, and it's been so exciting, and I can't wait to continue to see what happens, both with FNAF and with gaming in general in 2016, and over analysis of all this other stuff. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go see Star Wars, because I have not seen Star Wars yet. I've been working on this video, right?
After reading the chat, I can tell you the entire plot.
Oh no, you know the whole plot of Star Wars?
There were a lot of lies in the chat.
Good.
Don't worry.
Don't worry about what you read there.
I'm
It's
glad.
a lot of lying going on.
Okay, a lot of lies in Star Wars. Okay, so...
Voldemort doesn't die.
Oh, thank goodness. I was so confused. Voldemort appears as Darth Vader, guys.
Yoda is not Gizmo's father.
Yoda and Gremlin? There's not a Star Wars Gremlins crossover?
Yoda Gremlins tie-in.
No, okay,
fine.
well, good. So we've been working on this theory all week, and special shout out to Earl, who edited this video together and was an absolute champ. This one was under a tight timeline, and then we have the last minute edition with the book release and stuff like that. So thank you to him. Thank you guys for an incredible 2015. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And remember, that's just a theory. A game theory. Okay then.
Let's do it together.
No, okay, let's... Okay, let's all do it together, shall we? Okay, ready? Ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. But hey, that's just a Wait. Okay, let's try it one more time. What are you doing, Smike? Jeez. Okay, one more time. I'll start with the but hey, and then you guys come in with that's just a theory. Okay, ready? Here we go. We got it this time, guys. Don't worry. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. Oh, and hey, that was just a stream, a live stream. Also, thanks for watching. Hey, let's say goodbye to everyone in the chat like we do.
Mike, you can start spamming people left and right in the chat now.
Spam it away. So
Spam again, Spike.
yes, spam Smike, Spike spam.
Bye.
John B, see you sir. Jenny Guzman, here it comes, and there it went. Let's see. Jem McGravy, good night from the UK. Sweet dreams, Jem. Gabe Moore also joined us in for a game theory, so there you go. Oh, hey, Asura Kishin, Star Gamer, everyone saying the tag with us, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we all nailed it. Thank you everyone for joining us in for that.
Lane Shadow, bye. Josh, bye.
Let's see. Josh Rolls. Carlos Sanchez
Luke,
says
bye,
hi,
bye, bye.
Smike. The night.